We are glad to have your company on RwandaTV News, now top of our edition. President Paul Kagame has noted that equality is only possible when people acknowledge that it is everybody's right wherever they may be. Now, the head of state made the remarks while opening on Tuesday in Kigali the 145th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union that convened over 1,000 delegates, including 60 speakers and deputy parliament speakers from across the world. We have the details.
The gathering is centered around gender equality and how it can help the world to find solutions to the many challenges it faces and eventually attain sustainable long-term peace.
All over the world, parliaments exist to protect the interests of citizens. This objective cannot be met without the full and active participation of women in our parliaments, especially in leadership positions. Despite steady gains in equality between women and men continues to be widespread. Setting quotas takes us a step closer to equal representation, but does not address the full spectrum of inequalities in parliaments and in our society at large. Gender equality is better achieved when we acknowledge that it is a right for everyone, everywhere.
Choice for the location of the assembly was also commended.
I commend your focus on gender equality and gender-sensitive parliaments as drivers of change. And I congratulate the host of today's assembly, Rwanda, for being the world's first country with a female majority in parliament. I urge you to raise your ambition to ensure women everywhere have the same opportunities to sit at the decision-making table as men. And I count on you to take action to better protect women in politics against the growing threat of violence.
Then there is the threat posed by genocidal ideologies globally.
Genocide, denial, and revisionism are fast becoming a growing threat to peace and security globally. Social media is partly responsible, but the truth is that hate speech and misinformation have existed for a long time. Collaboration between parliaments is needed. To work on all these challenges, to criminalize all forms of dehumanization and racism worldwide. I have to state here that the topical issues you selected, peace, democracy, and cooperation, are very important. There is no individual country, there is no region, there is no part of this world that can claim to have it all. It starts with working on democracy, working for peace. If we don't do it through cooperation, I don't think we can achieve anything. We see problems, as stated earlier, in some parts of Africa. While one is thinking that this is confined to Africa, you immediately realize that other parts of the world are going through similar challenges that affect peace, that affect democracy. What a better way then can we think of to find solutions than through cooperation? I think we need to work together more and not have people who assume that they have it all and they can tell others what they should be doing. It doesn't work like that. It's not the reality of this world we live in, all of us.
The 145th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union should have taken place in Rwanda 2 years ago, but was postponed on more than one occasion because of the COVID-19 pandemic. It will continue all through this week and end on Saturday.
Indeed, no country can assume they have it all. A lot can be achieved through collaboration. Wise words. Moving on, members of the Interparliamentary Union say that parliaments cannot be the foundation in emphasizing gender equality in their respective societies if gender-based violence remains an issue within the parliaments themselves. We have more.
On the first day of the 145th General Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union, on its sideline was the 34th Assembly of the Women in this union. One of the strong challenges globally is the gender-based violence as demonstrated in this assembly. The President of the Interparliamentary Union, Duarte Pacheco, states that this is a major concern as the gender-based violence is also faced by women in parliaments.
As we tackle gender-based violence in our societies, we must also do so in our own parliaments. Sometimes we don't believe that, but happen also discrimination inside our own parliaments. We must ensure that the parliaments are free from sexism, harassment, and violence against women MPs. We know that women MPs compose 26.5% of our parliaments globally. However, we also know that more than 85% of women MPs we surveyed in Europe face psychological violence. In Africa, 40% of women MP surveyed were sexually harassed. Globally, 25% of women MP face physical violence. We found out even more, wherein evidence that violence against women MPs is perpetrated by male colleagues inside our own parliaments. Such violence targets women leaders is part of a structural tactic of men to dominate and silence women and get them out of decision-making and leadership. But we won't let this tactic work, and we know what needs to be done.
It is really an issue as there is presence of gender inequality in the participants of this General Assembly, as said by the Manager of Gender and Youth Programs in the Interparliamentary Union, Zeina Hilal.
There are 35.3% of women participating in this 145th Assembly. This proportion of 35.3% is a bit lower than the one we had at the last Assembly in Nusa Dua, which stood at 38.9%. There are here in Kigali 101 delegations of 2 members and more. Among these 101 delegations, 18 are single-sex. 15 of them are male only, and 3 are all female. We have to remain vigilant.
The Senate Vice President in the Rwandan Parliament, Esperance Nyirasafari, was elected as the head of the 34th Women Assembly in the Interparliamentary Union. Referring to the speech of President Paul Kagame, Honorable Nyirasafari states that eradicating the challenges hindering the development of a woman requires to first change the mentality.
En tant que représentants des peuples, nous devons trouver des solutions à ces problèmes.
As representatives of the population, we have to find solutions. Each of us should play a part and suggest what can be done. I want to quote the President of the Republic of Rwanda, His Excellency Paul Kagame, in his speech that aligns with the theme of our 145th General Assembly that says,
I quote, "Women and men are equal in terms of ability and dignity. So, women and men must also be equal in terms of opportunity. This is not a just human right, but also common sense. No one benefits when women are held back. We have to change mindsets and not just laws." End of quote.
The 145th General Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union has an overall theme: gender equality and gender-sensitive parliaments as drivers of change for a more resilient and peaceful world. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince. Indeed, we cannot ignore what women can do. Now, moving on, Honorable Donatil Mokabalisa, the Speaker of Rwanda's Parliament, has pointed out that while poor governance is the source of social issues and insecurity, lawmakers must pass laws to prevent them. Adam Squizera explores.
In the press conference that followed the opening of the 145th Interparliamentary Union, journalists returned to know what the parliaments are doing to prevent conflicts and insecurity that is experienced globally. The President of the Chamber of Deputies, Honorable Mukabalisa Donatia, points out that as the legislators who control the functioning of the government, they should take a lead to pass laws for preventing corruption.
Do the laws passed by the Parliament consider the issues that may arise in governance? We'll ask those in charge to make sure that these laws and policies are implemented for the benefit of the local people to prevent conflicts and wars.
Regarding the way principle of equality is promoted through budgeting its related programs, IPU Secretary General Martin Chukong noted that there are different methods depending on the country, but not all of them are effective.
Some simply just say we allocate 20% of our budget to gender programs. Others say no, more resources are sent across the board to all the gender-related activities, because there's the temptation when you allocate 20% to budget of the budget to gender activities that the rest of the society says, okay, we've given gender that amount of money, and they forget. So there are various experiences around the world, but it's important what you're saying, that Parliament should utilize its budget allocation powers to make sure that budgets are gender sensitive, gender responsive.
On this point, the President of the Chamber of Deputies, Honorable Mukabalisa Donatia, explained that in Rwanda, during the national budget evaluation, all institutions are required to show how the given budget will be used, taking into consideration the principle of equality. Adam Squizera, RTV News.
Still on gender matters, Rwanda's First Lady Jeannette Kagame notes that the country's acknowledgement of the International Day of the Girl Child is not designed to ignore the boy child, but an opportunity to review the progress that has been made in dealing with the problems that the girl child faces. RTV's Martina Abera has the details.
It was a ceremony that took place at the Ubworoberane Stadium in Musanze district. The crowd of participants in the ceremony were filled with morale. They received First Lady Jeannette Kagame in her speech and thanked them for their warm greetings. A few days ago, we were convened here with Friends of Rwanda in conservation efforts, and we have gathered here again to celebrate the International Day of the Girl Child and to award the Inkubito Zicheza girls. It is a beautiful sight to be welcomed with warmth and grace from the people of Musanze. In this ceremony, First Lady Mrs. Jeannette Kagame awarded 198 girls who performed better than others in the national exams of Primary 6, O-Level and A-Level, and they were welcomed into the wider family of girls who became exemplary students, also known as Inkubito Zicheza. Among the prizes they received were a certificate bearing the signature of the First Lady of the Republic, a dictionary, 2 English books, cleaning supplies, and they were also given 20,000 Rwandan francs, which they were asked to use to open up a savings account to encourage them to start saving. Those that graduated from A-level were given laptops, which will be accompanied by trainings on how to use them. The Inkubito Zicheza girls say this is a big takeaway for their journey and claim that the love and opportunities they receive from the country is what they cherish the most, and that it is where they draw their enthusiasm to develop themselves and contribute to the country's development. I'm very thankful to the government for their continued support. Judging by how girls used to live back then, not having the opportunity to go to school, not being allowed to be with their fellow brothers, not being allowed to venture in the technical world, it was just cruel. However, the system has definitely changed, and I will be forever grateful that I'm able to study what I am passionate about. Emphasizing the importance of the International Day of the Girl Child, the First Lady of the Republic explained that celebrating this day does not lessen the importance of the boy child. The fact that there is a special day dedicated for the girl child is not to ignore the boy child, but it is an opportunity to review the steps we have taken and to assess the obstacles that the girl child still faces in the effort to better the journey in line with their brothers. Her Excellency Jeanette Kagame also reminded the Nkubito Zicheza girls that this is a sign of what they are capable of and that the country expects a lot from them, so they should be able to continue to work hard to achieve their dreams. Today we are celebrating Nkubito Zicheza, who are the girls that performed outstandingly in the past 2 years and we weren't able to celebrate due to the pandemic that we all were dealing with. Nkubito Zicheza is a name that was given to the girls and is a name that any girl can be able to attain. Our girls. To be Nkubito Zicheza is the pride of these girls, which is the name we gave to the best performing girls and a sign of greatness that your parents, guardians, and the rest of the country sees in you. It is a promise to yourselves to continue the self-development path, development of the country, and to make your parents proud. The Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion reveals that violence against children, especially gender-based violence, is still visible throughout the country. Based on this, First Lady of the Republic, Jeanette Kagame, made a request to parents, especially men. Research shows that when men have a role in raising their children, it gives a positive impact. Parents who are men here, did you know that you have a major role in the growth and development of a child, their thinking, and so much more? You are the example of the ideal man a lady sees when seeking marriage. When you teach them the wrong ways, they are inclined to go that path easily. So listening to them and teaching them the right things to do is the only way to raise them right. In 2021, Rwanda was ranked 7th in the world in promoting gender equality and the 2nd in Africa behind Namibia, which is ranked 6th in the world. The International Day of the Girl Child, dedicated to the girl child, is celebrated, while the report of the World Bank shows that every day around the world, 41,000 girls getting married under the age of 18, which is 15 million every year. Celebrating this day was started by the United Nations in 2011, and in Rwanda today it is celebrated for the 10th time. Martina Abera, RTV News.
Thank you, Martina, for that impactful report. Now, effective this Tuesday, plea bargaining has been integrated into the Rwandan court system with the intention to reduce overcrowding in prisons. Precious Kirezi now reports.
38% of the 10,000 people awaiting trial for misdemeanors pose as an obstacle to the justice system, which statistics show has increased by 47% between 2021 and 2022. The spokesperson of the National Public Prosecution Authority has given an insight into how the plea bargaining process is going to be put into action.
What was agreed upon is what presented to the court. For example, someone could agree to plead guilty to some offenses and have an agreement with opposing counsel on what they plead guilty or not to, which the judge has a choice to enforce or not to enforce.
The people commend this new initiative. However, they have expressed that it would be more effective if it were objective and didn't allow high-level theft to slip through the cracks.
Minor road theft is not that big of an offense, but if it's breaking and entering someone's house, then the thief clearly intended to not only steal, but kill also. That is unforgivable.
A lawyer stands by the view that people shouldn't be distressed that plea bargains will lessen punishment for criminals.
Crimes are not committed in anticipation of their sanctions. When a person intends to engage in criminal activity, they don't think of how the crime has been or will be dealt by the law, which is why we urge the judicial system to balance their verdicts with the pre-existing precedent, because surveys have conveyed that it changes nothing.
The Chief Justice is of the view that plea bargains will reduce congestion in prison and speed up cases.
We have over 10,000 people in our custody awaiting trial, and that amounts to 12% of all prisoners. We intend to speed up cases, especially for cases not involving those awaiting trial that are found not guilty. This also helps those who have been convicted serve their time faster, and we expect plea bargaining will be well received.
The Rwandan judicial system has conveyed that 12% of the prison population nationwide is currently awaiting trial. Prison congestion this year stands at 174%, which is a significant increase from 136% last year. 66,000 prisoners were in custody last year, and this year's prison population is 84,000. Precious Chidezi, RTV News.
The Transport Agency has signed a cooperation agreement with South Sudan. The agreement entails cooperation in transport, especially construction of infrastructure such as roads in South Sudan, as well as capacity building of companies related to transport. Now, according to the Executive Director of South Sudan Roads Authority, they decided to sign a cooperation agreement with Rwanda because of the progress in road development, adding that they are confident they will achieve their goal using Rwanda's experience.
So a planning of a road infrastructure has to start from the beginning of the construction to the design and the maintain for a certain year of a time, 20 or 30 years of a road. So those are the parts of cooperation that we are going to work together. So ikindi kintu ni area yindi ni capacity building. Capacity building ari ubushobozi twebwe tumaze, the capacity that we have already built here in RTDA. We have already started to work with them. Our team went in South Sudan on road conditioning survey, how we are doing it, what are the latest equipment that we are using. This is the main things that we have in this MOU which have been signed.
For the government of South Sudan, transport is key, is a priority number one. And of course, when you're behind, you look forward to, cooperating with somebody who is really ahead of you and one of the best in the game. And Rwanda is identified as one of the best success stories in Africa as far as roads construction and maintenance and management goes. And through the Northern Corridor Secretariat, we are here and we have just concluded this MOU, and we look forward to cementing this relationship between these two countries of ours and to develop our road sector and other transport modes to a level which will make us all proud in the region.
Thank you so much for choosing RTV once more. The red thread tonight has been that notable progress has been made when it comes to gender equality, but the journey remains long. Isabel Masozera, RTV News. Until next time, stay blessed.